One of the first buildings that we had here was Porsche in Sunny Isles, and the building sold really fast. And that's because, the Porsche brand has that emotional attachment with its clients.
Sure.
And it was very easy for Desert, the developer, to put it into a building and sell it. The building is so amazing that it has an elevator for your car that takes it to your residence. We have big companies relocating to South Florida or Miami, Amazon, Citadel, etc. They just start building because they know that we're going to sell out. They want that type of luxury. Dubai is considered the #1 luxury market in the world, and we're considered the #2.
Tell me more. Tell me more. I want to be there.
Just the brand itself that Miami itself has become is a global phenomenon. We have the biggest art festival in the world, and people know that it's here. The Formula One, now it's here. Now we have our own soccer team. The city keeps on giving us so much, and it keeps on building a global brand that why wouldn't I want to say that I'm from here? Miami really embraces everybody, especially if you have a plan and if you have a goal in mind and if you're well prepared for it.
Domi.
Let's go to Domi.
Let's go to Domi. It's Domi. See,
that's how I pronounce it.
Okay, well, you should pronounce it the way you'd like.
Miami is here for the long haul, and whoever understands that, whether it's a domestic or a foreign investor, they're going to make money. I'm not going to be dancing on TikTok, that's for sure.
Well, you never know. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Marty Davis Show, where we turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones and uncover the visionaries that are shaping the future of South Florida. We're here today in the beautiful original City Hall for Miami Beach, a 1920s building that now is housing the LGBTQ Visitor Center and the LGBTQ plus and allied business Chamber of Commerce. It's a beautiful location. We encourage people to visit, learn more about our community, and learn more about the culture and the specialness of Miami Beach and Miami as well. I'm excited today because we have a guest who is a good friend and who is not just a realtor. He's an innovator, an entrepreneur, a visionary. There's just so many terms that I can use for Ruben. Some people think he's good looking. I don't know. I looked like that 30 years ago. But anyway, we're excited to have Ruben here because, I have known Ruben for probably 10 years at least, and seen his rise to stardom. He has been working in the past 20 years in the real estate field, building his career in luxury real estate. He also is working with branded residences and being basically a global ambassador to the world for Miami and Miami Beach luxury real estate. Ruben Sanchez is the founder of Domi Real Estate Advisors that has a special emphasis in sharing the knowledge and expertise that he and his team have in building brands, in having a global network of investors from Miami to Mexico to Dubai to, I'm sure, a number of other cities and beyond. He spends a good deal of his time traveling and talking up Miami Beach, and the uniqueness of our community and why Miami is one of the world's greatest locations for foreign and domestic investment for both investors and for families moving here. Not only do we have great weather, we have great art, we have an education system that is wonderful, not to mention our gleaming blue waters and a mecca for boaters like me. And it's a reason to be in South Florida. So let's get started. Ruben, let me ask you some questions. You got started in real estate, and I'm wondering to tell us a little bit about that, and also tell us, somewhere along that way, I think something must have happened that you decided to say, well, this isn't going to be just something part-time for me. This is going to be my full-time career, and I'm going to make some changes in Miami. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, first, let me thank you for the invitation. Very excited to be here and to share this new endeavor of yours. So thank you so much for having me. And
Glad you're here.
so, yeah, I've been in real estate for about a little bit over 20 years now. I started in 2004. I'm originally from Texas, and I was working for a large-scale developer in Texas while I was doing my undergrad. And throughout that process, this was my job while I was going to school. And then when I graduated in 2008 and I moved to Miami to start my master's program, I was already working a little bit in real estate here because I transitioned. It was a very easy transition for me to go from Texas to Florida or to Miami. And I started my master's program, and throughout that process, I got licensed here in the state. And funny enough, this was in 2008 when the market crashed. So, I wasn't very necessarily
Bad timing.
hopeful that, it was going to be my career after undergrad. But I did notice that from one year to the next, I think it was around 2010, the market went up tremendously in the rental sector. I started my career here in Florida, in Miami, in downtown, and I was able to rent out an apartment, let's say in 2009, for $800 to $1,000, and then the next year it went up to $1,600. And I noticed and realized that Miami was on an upward trend. And that's the reason why we kept, in the real estate industry. And I say we because I was able to form and create a company with two different partners, one of those being my husband now. My husband now.
One of your husbands.
One of my husbands,
okay.
yeah. And,
we'll have a story on that later.
But, as you mentioned, as a global ambassador of Miami, and when I talk about Miami, I mean Miami-Dade in general. It was a very easy sell. Everywhere that I would go, that I would say, I live in Miami, people would just gravitate towards me and start asking me all these questions, especially about how they move here, how can they move here, how can they invest here, et cetera.
Let's talk about that. I want to stop you on how people move here and how people make Miami feel that it's home. How did that happen for you? When did you feel that, hey, Miami's home?
It took me about 2 years from the time that I moved here to actually wake up and say, wow. Like I felt breathing in and breathing out, and I said, okay, I love Miami. And funny enough, I kept on serving people because obviously Miami's used to be very transient, and I'm talking about 2008, 2009, 2010. And I would survey people that were already living here for a while, and they would tell me it takes about 2 years for you to really love Miami and to really immerse yourself in the Miami culture. So that's how my experience was. And I still ask people about that, because every experience is different, but on average, they tell me about 2 years. So I like to share that experience, although it's not the same for everybody, but that way, you set an expectation that more than anything, I would think that people that come here, especially if you don't have a plan as to what to do or what you want to be able to create, just to stay hopeful and to stick it through, because Miami really embraces everybody, especially if you have a plan and if you have a goal in mind and if you're well prepared for it.
Well, that's great. Because Miami has been ever changing. I first came down to Miami Beach in the middle 80s. As a kid, I came down here with my family, and Miami Beach was a row of chairs in front of these little hotels on Ocean Drive with a bunch of people in rocking chairs, and they used to call it Heaven's Waiting Room. And then the modeling agencies came, Miami Vice came in, and the world is a very different place now here in Miami, and it's very exciting, and the changes that are here, which I think is very interesting. And you say now that you were telling me before we got started that you were at an international conference in Belgium, I think, and you said to the crowd that I live in Miami. I'm a Miami native, and you automatically had, I think, what did you say, 70 people come up to you and say, tell me more. I want to be there.
Yeah.
And so tell me, how does the global curiosity out there fuel your work?
So it's very tied, honestly, because instead of me having to do a rebrand or having to force myself to sell the city or to invite people to come and invest, just the brand itself that Miami itself has become is a global phenomenon, so to me it's very easy for me just to say, hey, I live in Miami or I work in Miami, and people are just get very curious, especially when you go to places that don't necessarily have quick access to Miami. We're very fortunate because we can be in a different country in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, right? But when you're in Europe, it tends to be a little bit further, and that distance, I think, just puts more distance from people's minds from, oh, it's very quick to be in Miami. But people get very curious. We have, as you know, great foods. You said great beaches, the amazing waters that we have. We're creating our own little culture. We have the biggest art festival in the world, and people know that it's here. The Formula One, now it's here. Now we have our own soccer team. It's just, the city keeps on giving us so much, and it keeps on building a global brand that, why wouldn't I want to say that I'm from here?
Sure. And with our airport expansion, the way it's coming in, we're going to have more direct flights from all over the world. And it's exciting. So it is easier to get here from Europe and even from Asia now, which is a big change for us. Being the gateway to Latin and South America has always been our plus. But here we are, we're attracting Europe and we're attracting Asia. I know part of your work is to find developers, to bring them here, to build new projects. I've heard some people say they're concerned about that there's too much building in Miami, and that there's going to be problems because of that, and it may change the market and altogether. And whether that brings prices down, brings prices up, or becomes too congested. What do you say to those people that there might be too much development? Do you agree?
So yes, a big portion of me agrees on that. I do think that the city is growing too fast, maybe. Mind you, I don't have a lot of experience because I haven't been here, 80 or 100 years to say otherwise. But what I can say, and what I do say, is that there's a demand for it, especially with products over $1,000 a square foot, which, it's just entering our luxury market. When you look at resales in real estate as opposed to new construction, especially above the $1,000 per square foot, we're still upward trending in the luxury market. We have big companies relocating to South Florida or Miami, Amazon, Citadel, etc. And those people that these companies are bringing, they want these types of products because they want that type of luxury. So I guess it kind of balances itself in a way. Yeah, we're building a lot, but because there's a lot of demand, and that's what people don't really understand. These projects, when they launch sales and when they start construction, a lot of the times they don't require for, the building to be sold to start construction. They just start building because they know that we're going to sell out. And as of today, we do sell out.
It's interesting because so much of the development in South Florida has been driven by financing. So that has been holding us back. And it's exciting that we hear now that we have people coming in with plenty of money and that they don't need to worry about the financing. They can build as they grow. Talking about building, you can hear in the background now that they're doing some renovation on the City Hall. So many of the developers coming in to South Florida don't need financing. That was a big, stumbling block, quite frankly, in the past to get the money. It's great to see that those projects are happening. Do you feel that are the cities embracing this type of development? Are they coming in? Is there the demand for these types of developers?
There's definitely a demand. A portion of my practice is dealt with selling pre-construction or new construction projects here, especially in the urban core, downtown Brickell, Edgewater. And there's a demand. In order for us to be able to be sold out, the developer requires cash deposits, from the buyers. Even though a lot of the times the developer doesn't use those deposits to build because they can still build without needing that cash flow. They start construction where, before 2008 or even before 2010, the developer had to have sold at least 50 to 60% of the building to start construction. That's not a holdback anymore. Developers just start construction, whether it doesn't matter in which part of the selling process they're at, whether it's 50, 30%. They know we're going to sell out, especially because, again, there's still a very high demand for this types of investment, not just from the domestic market, but from foreigners. A lot of the times in my experience, especially people from Latin America, they bet on these types of projects because they're able to get their money out and invest it here in the US for the dollar. And that has always fueled Miami. It's always, in my experience, has always been Latin America. It's just, within the last 4 to 5 years, especially after COVID or during COVID, is when the domestic market started paying attention to South Florida and Miami.
Right.
And they started taking us serious. But we've always been here. That's the thing.
Well, maybe it's social unrest and political unrest all over the world that creates this. You mentioned about all of these international investors. What do some of these international investors see that perhaps local investors or local buyers might be missing?
The opportunity. The foreign investors, especially the Latin American investors, they've always bet in South Florida and Miami. That has always happened. From the 80s to the 90s to the boom that we had in the early 2000s and up again now. They don't mind the prices because they rather earn dollars than have the money in their country and lose value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're betting, a lot of the times my investors say like, listen, I'm going to break even, right? But it doesn't matter to me because I'm still creating more money just because it's in the U.S. currency.
Right.
And that way, when they sell, they're able to cash out and take that money or reinvest. So that's not necessarily a concern for the domestic investor, simply because we're making money anyways. We're working here, but now it's the opportunity of what we call FOMO. They don't want to lose out, and they know that prices, especially in these luxury buildings, are going to continue to go up. There will be an adjustment, obviously, because that's just the natural real estate cycle. But Miami is here for the long haul, and whoever understands that, whether it's a domestic or a foreign investor, they're gonna make money.
Well, it's the same in the stock market. If you're in it for a long time, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
So if you look at real estate and look at it as an investment, not I'm going to buy this month and as soon as it's done, I'm going to sell it. You have to look at that as that investment, that you're building your equity as time goes along, right?
I agree. And it's very easy for anybody who doesn't understand not just real estate, but this market in particular, because there's no other market in the U.S. that can compare to what's going on here, right? But if you don't understand that, then there's a lot of fear that, people get scared. They also say, well, it's a real estate bubble. And some people may say that it is a real estate bubble. I'm definitely one of those people that say, but not in a negative way, like the finance bubble in 2008. Our bubble is that, hey, we cannot compare to a New York or a Chicago because we're not it. The demand is here in South Florida. It's not up there. So the bubble is that there's still a lot of people who want to get into Miami because it's for long term.
We've almost always been a different market than the rest of the world, and or the rest of the U.S., right?
Yeah, for sure.
We have a lot of things that the other places don't have, like taxes and bad weather and snow and perhaps some investment discouragement by local and state laws. So it is a great place for investment. So what are some of the mistakes that, because part of our audience will be international, that you can guide international investors to avoid that you've seen happen in the past?
Well, I think definitely understand, the investment strategy, if they have one or not, because a lot of the times people just bring their money and just set it down. And if there's no strategy, then, there's no point in us investing. I mean, that's always my pitch. Being prepared, meaning teaming up with the right people, attorneys, accountants, a real estate broker that is knowledgeable and can guide the buyer or the investor depending on the type of investment that they want to do. Those are always it's like a template, you need to have those. And a lot of the times, because it could be that the investor could be the first time that they're investing, we as a real estate broker, because we're probably the first point of contact here in Miami, we have to come up with the whole team to be able to create that strategy for the investor based on their interests, So definitely having a good team to support that investor based on the needs of that investor, and understanding if it's a short-term investment or a long-term investment.
Selfish plug, Marty Davis, the business and real estate lawyer. right?
Well, attorney for sure. You know what you need to do.
There you go. And but selfish plug, and another one. And but no, Ruben, you do a great job in informing your potential buyers, and that's why I'm certain that the first buyer tells their friends, their families, this is the place to invest. This is the guy to invest with. He understands us. He takes care of us. From you're visiting Dubai to bringing them back here and showing them these projects that are out there, right?
Yes, sir. That's how it is.
Yeah, no, listen, I love the honesty that you bring to the table, because I think you are telling people the way it is so that you're managing their expectations, as you mentioned, and what they should hope to get in an investment here in South Florida, and the difference between an investment and a home for your family to live in.
Totally.
Which is completely different. And some people get that confused on many occasions. So I appreciate you telling us about that difference. You know, I know that you travel outside of the country to drum up business, so to speak. But when you need to recharge, and for you personally, where do you like to go?
Outside of Miami.
Okay.
I like to leave Miami. It's very challenging, as business owners and entrepreneurs to disconnect, because we're the head of the business most of the time. So I cannot disconnect if I'm in Miami Beach, because I'm still only a few minutes away from my place, or I'm still accessible, which is not a problem, but I do most of the time. And I learned it this year, maybe like every 2 to 3 months, I do have to leave, and just, even if it's for a weekend, totally disconnect. What has helped has been cruises, because my phone is off.
There you go. You can't be reached.
Yeah, I can't be reached. And that I realized this year, that something like that, it's what it takes for me to come back and feel refreshed and empowered.
Well, I'm sure that helps with work-life balance too. Yeah. You have a family. Tell us about your family.
So I am married. I've been with my husband now since 2008. It's 17 years, if I'm not mistaken. And we have a 15-year-old boy. We became parents very, very early on, like a year after we got together. And that has been a very cool experience, especially because I'm from Texas originally. So I grew up in a house with a big backyard. And here I've only lived in condos. So my son is a city kid. He walks everywhere, which I think it's great. Yes, we have our concerns, obviously, because, we don't want him walking everywhere, especially because of the drivers here, especially in the urban core, like in downtown in Brickell. But, he gets on the train, he gets on the mover, he gets on the Metro Rail. This weekend, 2 weeks ago, we went to Orlando and the Bright Line, and he's understanding that he doesn't need a car, to the point where he's like, I don't need a car. I could always just get a driver.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
But he is desperate for a driver's license, which I don't understand why. But anyway, but that's us. My son goes to school in Brickell, and we're fortunate enough to travel, and that's us.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
And hold off on that car as long as you can. I just got an insurance bill yesterday, and I'm not 15. So, anyway, that's great. And I'm glad that you do take the time to do and recharge, and you are then ready for the onslaught of what happens next in running your business.
Yeah, the Sunday scares are very, very real.
There you go.
Sometimes.
Your company's name is Domi Real Estate Advisors. Tell us about that name, and how did you come up with that?
It's Domi.
It's Domi. See,
that's how I pronounce it.
Okay, well, you should pronounce it the way you'd like.
So, when I moved to downtown Miami, that's where the name is from, DOMI, downtown Miami. Oh. When I moved here from Texas, I was told while I was doing my master's program at FIU that downtown after 6 o'clock was a ghost town, which wasn't really my experience just yet, but I could see a little bit of it. And I asked people, like, tell me more. It's very rare that I meet somebody that was born and raised here. I don't know if that's your experience as well, because we're all from different parts. Yeah. But the people that I did meet that would tell me, they're like, yeah, downtown was very dangerous. There's only the courthouses and the attorney's, office. So I went on a mission to rename downtown. And my intention was to come out with a full campaign to rename downtown to Domi. Now, why Domi? Well, South Beach has Sobe, North Miami has Nomi, South Miami has Somi, And people still think that downtown is that downtown from 20, 30 years ago, and it's not. A lot of the newer construction and real estate, obviously, is happening in the urban core, which would be Edgewater, Brickell, and downtown.
Sure.
So that's where the name, came from. I went straight into real estate, and I didn't do the whole rebranding campaign that I wanted to do for downtown. But, it's still there, and people always ask me, which I think it's great. That way, it's always a conversation starter. And, I hope that at some point somebody will use it. My neighbor, who is Eileen Higgins, which is our commissioner, I'm really pushing for her to start, throwing that name out to see if we're able to do that in downtown. But that's where the name came from.
Well, then it's got to start right here then. Domi.
Let's go to Domi.
Let's go to Domi. Great restaurants now. Yes, I remember when at 6 o'clock as a lawyer, we were leaving downtown, the hurricane shutters would go down on the storefronts and it would be an absolute ghost town. And you'd want to get out of there before dark.
That's what I was
Because if not, you were the only person there and perhaps a homeless person or two or someone who was probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So, yes, a complete revitalization now and new stores, new restaurants. Some of our best restaurants are in that Domi now, right? Yes. So it's a great thing. So you're working with a lot of different developers coming in. What would you say is the most exciting project that's coming online now?
This year, I decided to focus on branded buildings. I have a whole social media campaign going on where I'm rebranding my name as Branded Built. So Ruben Branded Built. And the reason for that is, again, just to focus on branded buildings. I think that these branded buildings and the luxury that comes behind them and the brand loyalty and the emotional attachment that the brands have is such a great opportunity to turn it into real estate. One of the first buildings that we had here was Porsche in Sunny Isles, and the building sold really fast. And that's because, the Porsche brand has that emotional attachment with its clients.
Sure.
And it was very easy for Desert, the developer, to put it into a building and sell it. The building is so amazing that it has an elevator for your car that takes it to your residence, depending on, in the building, which I thought was great. And then after that, we've had the Aston Martin. Now we have a few other buildings, fashion, Dolce Gabbana. We have the Mercedes-Benz, who's also under construction. That's where we're at. And I think that tying in those themes of luxury, of brand loyalty, of residences, these are not units. These are not, a property. These are residences. These are carefully curated products for these luxury buyers and investors that want to live that experience. And I think we're right up the alley. Miami is doing great with this. But that's where that whole thing came about. And I think connecting Miami to another market like Dubai, who is also going through this experience and this process where branded buildings are being born, it's just the first in many other cities that will probably follow suit. And we're very lucky to be in Miami to experience this.
That's great. So when did you realize that you were really an influencer and a specialist in this branded building concept that you have for bringing investors and bringing even more developers to use more of those branded names?
It was probably late last year. So I've been traveling to Dubai. This was my third or fourth year, and I saw what was happening there. Dubai is considered the number one luxury market in the world, and we're considered the number two. So we're right behind it. And there's a lot of parallel between that market and our market as far as real estate goes. So at the end of last year, like around September, October, I sat down with my marketing team and I said, we have to do something else because nobody's focusing on this. And it's definitely an opportunity for somebody with our experience to be able to showcase and to curate these properties so that we can present them to the different investors and buyers. And that's where the Branded Built name came from, I mean, it's from Vanderbilt, but we named it Branded Built, and we started carefully working on this campaign, and it's been successful. Meaning, not that I've sold a lot of properties, but I'm getting recognized more and more, which I think it's very cool because I never pictured myself to be doing that, to be in front of the camera like you're doing now. I don't know if you had that much of experience, but that was not really where my mind was, and now with everybody trying to be an influencer, et cetera, I figure let's jump on the bandwagon. I'm not going to be dancing on TikTok, that's for sure, but I will be doing videos.
Well, you never know. And, and if anybody watching is looking at you and thinking, oh my God, he should have been a movie star if he wasn't in real estate. So I think you're going to do great on on these videos that you're doing. You mentioned younger agents and your team and all of that. How are you developing agents on your team?
So one of the strategies that we use is we tend to hire newly licensed real estate professionals. And the reason for that is because we have carefully curated a career path. I want to make sure that my agents or my associates are not just doing real estate part-time, that they can actually build a career and follow through with this side of the industry, right? So we tend to hire newer agents so that we can train them, we can teach them the ropes, especially because if you become a realtor, you may be a licensed real estate professional, but you don't necessarily have to be a realtor. But if you do become a realtor, you must abide by a code of ethics. And for some reason here in South Florida, realtors don't have the best reputation, okay, as opposed to other states. And I'm on a mission to change that because we move a lot of money. We put people in their homes. You get me? And that's kind of the message that I portray to my real estate team, because it's important for us to understand that in order to be successful. And I want them to see me and be like, oh, if he was able to do this just through real estate alone, I can do that. So that's how we build our team. And honestly, it works because I create loyalty. And that to me is the first and most important thing.
I think you're going to find that is probably one of the biggest rewards of your career as you go along. I've been a lawyer since the Romans were around, and I still have young lawyers that I train because I felt the same way as you. I like to hire young lawyers so that they were trained, in my mind, correctly to represent our clients in the best possible way. And they've now gone on to train their staff and in their law firms. And regularly I get feedback about, gee, thanks for bringing us along in that way, because it's what made us successful. And it also creates a career path and a succession plan for people, which I talk to people about a great deal in their businesses, is about succession planning and who's going to take over and how do you create value in your business if you don't have other people doing just what you do, maybe not quite as good as you do, but almost there, to build your business. So it's really great.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that you're right on the money when you say that. It does make me feel good.
Doesn't it make you feel great?
Yeah, no, honestly.
There's nothing better than someone coming up to you and saying, you made a difference in my life, so thanks a lot. And so all good. Well, you said that you wanted to kind of change that perception of realtors. Maybe you can help me with changing the perception of lawyers. We still have that too many park benches with, used car dealers on them. But anyway, we try and improve that. But you're really taking the next step. Now, you've become a leader in the Miami Realtors Association, have you not? Yes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so for the last 5 years, I've been volunteering as part of the board of governors. So Miami Realtors is the largest local realtor association in the United States. We have approximately 60,000 members, so you can just imagine.
Wow.
Yeah. Luckily, it encompasses, Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach. And even Jupiter. I've learned so much, especially because the people that are on these boards are really the movers and shakers of the industry here in South Florida, right? We change policy at a state level. We go to Tallahassee. We lobby for home ownership. We change policy locally as well. We have our own PAC to be able to influence and get our priorities met as far as membership and for the general public. So I've been serving on the board, and I was recently told about a month ago that I had been chosen to become the president of the residential board for 2027, which means that I'll be president-elect next year. Now, that doesn't guarantee that I'll be the president in 2027. There's duties that I have to fulfill next year, but it was a very rewarding feeling because I didn't apply for this. My colleagues nominated me. My colleagues chose me. So I want, carrying on my business process, I want to be able to carry that on to the board and to other real estate and realtor members so that they understand that, hey, this is doable and we're here for you. A lot of the times, you meet real estate professionals that don't understand what we do as a board. And we are the movers and shakers of real estate in South Florida. So I'm on a mission to bring more awareness to that. But it's been a very rewarding experience. I work with my colleagues. I get to travel with them. We launched what is called the YPN Global, which is a whole day of programming in international conferences like Dubai, Toronto. We're going to Brazil next month, where these real estate organizations invite us to teach their real estate professionals what we do in Miami.
Oh, great.
And even though, I'm not a YPN anymore, but I still volunteer because my agents see me, my younger colleagues see me. We have a real estate council in the chamber, as you know, and they see what we do. So trying to get more people involved and become aware of what we do. And it's very exciting for me to be able to share that with you.
Well, and just as you mentioned here, you're not only a leader in the Realtors Association, you're a leader in the Greater Miami LGBTQ plus Allied Business Chamber of Commerce as well. Tell us about your involvement there.
So while I was doing my master's program back in 2010-11, I met Jenny, who was working for Richard Murray at the time, when Richard Murray had his office here. Then I started volunteering with the chamber and, different organizations that the chamber also supported. And slowly and surely, I met you, I met Steve, I met Jorge, I met Scott Bader, and I started just getting a little more involved. But my true involvement as a part of the leadership team, if you will, was in 2019, I think right before COVID happened, where I was one of the co-chairs for the Young Professional Network with, I think it's Alex Khan and with Chris Aguilar, if I'm not mistaken, or they had just been. And they were great. They were great friends for me at that moment in time, because I wanted to do something else that was not real estate related necessarily, but also to support my community that has given me so much, And ever since then, I've been part of the leadership team, co-chairing the Young Professionals. We launched the Real Estate Council because the Real Estate Council had closed due to the 2008 issue that we had in real estate. So that was very exciting. We took the programming online during COVID, and we were able to maintain and help a lot of our business members. And now, we're one of the we have a very robust programming for our membership and for the general public. So it has been great. So much so that I'm now part of the board, which I'm very proud of as well. I continue to provide support in my chamber.
Well, he's really being modest because he's the guy, the force behind the Real Estate Council. So not only is he going to be president-elect of the Realtor Association, he runs what is the second largest council in our chamber, with over 1,200 representative members, and is in charge of programming and providing educational value, providing networking opportunities for realtors, for investors, for other business owners in the community, so much so that you have a monthly event showcasing one of those branded buildings usually that Ruben is representing or would like to represent. And so he brings that level of expertise. And let me toot your horn a little more because, you need to be a better tutor. But he's also on the board of the foundation that runs this visitors center and also provides scholarships, provides all kinds of services for the LGBTQ community and its youth. So we are one of the largest visitor centers in the country, here located at the Old City Hall building in Miami Beach. So thank you for all the things that you do for the chamber that I'm also part of, but this foundation board as well. So it's great stuff.
Thank you.
So Ruben, at the end of each interview, we like to have kind of a rapid fire thing where Bill Maher does new rules. Well, I wouldn't attempt to be Bill Maher or to give new rules, but I do like to ask questions and get a top-of-the-mind response from you. Okay. It can be as short as you like or as long as you like, but just tell me what you think when I ask you the following questions.
Go for it. Let's
Okay. Your favorite hidden gem restaurant or coffee spot in Miami?
There is a restaurant in the Seabolt building in downtown Miami called Motec, and this is the original Motec. You would miss it if you don't look because it's very small, but the food is great and it's walking distance from my place and from my office. And it's really a hidden gem, and I really like going there. And obviously now they've grown and they become really, they have multiple locations, but you would never know that place is there. And it's the OG.
Great Mediterranean food, right? In Domi. Did I say Domi again?
Thank you,
okay. Very good. One more time for Domi. The first thing you do in the morning that you can talk about?
I brush my teeth and put my contacts on, otherwise I can't see.
Okay, very good. If you had one dream home, would it be a penthouse, a waterfront villa, or something else?
It'd be a ranch. I think that's really what I'm focusing on for future retirement. I would like to own a ranch. My husband would like to own horses and chickens, so maybe something like that in Central Florida, and if not, probably somewhere in Texas. But something quiet is what I'm getting at. 'Cause I live in the city, it's very loud. For the past 15, 20 years, everywhere that I lived, because I moved around in Brickell and downtown, there's always a new building. Right now, they're building the Waldorf Astoria across from me. So, construction starts early.
Right.
Yeah.
So a ranch sounds good. You can take care of those horses?
Well, not me, him, but.
Oh, okay, good. Better yet. Yeah. Well, someone has to direct, right? Yes. No, I like it. And Miami buys or rents for the next 12 months. What's your call?
Buy. To buy.
And
to
why?
buy. To buy. So, there's a lot of stuff going on in Miami residential real estate, especially in the condo market, as I'm sure you're aware of. And that is providing for a lot of opportunity for buyers. Within the last 6 to 10 months, the Miami market has shifted. It is currently a buyer's market. We understand that real estate has cycles. Right now, we're in the buyer's market cycle. And the buyer has an opportunity to come buy something at a very good price. Even though for most of us here, we might think it's expensive, it's actually very good compared to other major cities. And, a lot of the times these residences or units or apartments have been completely remodeled and are ready for move-in. They offer some of the most spectacular amenities. People understand that, not everywhere buildings have pools, gyms, theaters, fitness centers, spas. We're very fortunate that is what we built here. And for anybody that's relocating or moving down here, I think it's a really good opportunity to buy. Even though interest rates are where they're at, one can always refinance. Our chief economist in Miami Realtor says short-term pain, long-term gain. And it used to be marry the house, date the rate, marry the house, date the rate. Right now it's short-term pain, long-term gain.
Very good. How do you finish this sentence? Miami real estate is
booming. We have over 30 buildings coming up between now and 2030 just in the urban core. And I know I'm talking a lot about the urban core, but it's happening in other pockets. For example, Sunny Isles, where we're going to be tomorrow afternoon at the Bentley Residences doing hosting our next real estate council event. Where so you have that in Sunny Isles. You have it here in Miami Beach with the opening of 5 Park, for example, the most newest building that Miami Beach has, which is a spectacular product that was turned over recently. But Miami's real estate is booming. I think we still have a lot of opportunity. We're just all construction. Newer construction has been mostly near the water. We haven't even expanded west, and I think that those things are going to happen eventually because there's still a lot of people moving to the city.
Yeah. The statistics are still up on people coming into our state, and most of them coming into our state are coming to South Florida.
Yeah.
And which is a great opportunity. Ruben Sanchez, a broker, a visionary, an entrepreneur, a friend. What I love most about Ruben's story is that it's not just about property. It's about community. It's about building a team. It's about providing investors with value. It's about making a return. It's about building our community and making it better. So, Ruben, I just want to thank you so much for being here. And I want to remind our viewers that at the end of this video, you'll have all of Ruben Sanchez's contact information and more about real estate advisors and more about Domi. So until next time, I'm Marty Davis. I'm a business and real estate lawyer, but also your host on the Marty Davis Show, reminding you that in Miami, opportunities always abound if you know where to look and you have the professionals that can help you find it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marty.